It was one of those rainy mornings when the city streets seemed to wash away all color, leaving only the dull grays of puddles and asphalt. People hurried past, umbrellas struggling against the wind, and the faint aroma of wet earth filled the air. On a small bus stop bench, a young woman in her mid-20s, dressed in a simple raincoat, fumbled through her bag. Her hands trembled slightly, not from the cold, but from frustration. "Not again," she muttered under her breath, pulling out her wallet. She counted the bills, only to find that she was a few rupees short for the bus fare. She sighed, her shoulders slumping, feeling the sting of embarrassment as a few passers-by glanced at her with subtle judgment. That's when she noticed him. A man, probably around her age, with a kind face and a warm smile, approached. He wore simple clothes, nothing flashy, but there was a certain calm confidence in his presence that seemed to cut through the dreary morning. "Hey," he said gently, "looks like you're short on bus fare. Here, take this." Before she could protest, he pressed a couple of bills into her hand. His eyes, soft but piercing, held a genuine warmth that made her want to trust him instantly. "Thanks," she whispered, almost ashamed that she had to accept his help. "No worries," he replied with a shrug. "We all have those days." Little did he know, the woman he had just helped was Amara Khan, the CEO of one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the country. At only 26, she had built a multi-million-dollar empire from scratch, but she never let her success define her. She believed in humility, in hard work, and in living a life close to reality, not just luxury. Today, though, she felt strangely humbled by the simple kindness of a stranger. As the bus arrived, she gave him a polite nod and a small smile. Something about that smile lingered in his mind, though he didn't know why. Days passed, but neither could shake the encounter from their minds. Fate, as it often does, decided to intervene. Amara's company was launching a new social initiative to empower underprivileged communities, and she chose to visit one of the project areas herself. To her surprise, when she arrived, the young man from the bus stop was there too, volunteering. His name was Zion. He worked tirelessly, organizing, lifting spirits, and helping wherever he could. Amara was captivated, not just by his handsomeness, which was undeniable, but by his humility, dedication, and the way he treated people with respect, regardless of who they were. Over time, she found herself seeking moments to talk to him, to learn more about his world, which seemed so different from hers. Zion, on the other hand, had no idea who Amara truly was. All he saw was a woman who worked alongside him, not a CEO or a millionaire. What he didn't know was that she admired his sincerity and simplicity, qualities rare in a world obsessed with status and wealth. As weeks turned into months, their bond deepened. They shared stories, dreams, and fears, often staying late into the evening under dim lights, laughing and sometimes crying over personal struggles. Zion opened up about growing up in a modest household, about losing his father at a young age, and about the sacrifices his mother made to ensure he had a better life. Amara, too, shared her journey, how she started coding in a small room, facing failure after failure, overcoming imposter syndrome, and building a company that now touched thousands of lives. One evening, as rain poured outside the window of their community center, Zion found himself staring at Amara, a strange intensity in his chest. He realized he was falling in love, but it was more than attraction. He admired her courage, her vision, and the vulnerability she showed him, something she rarely revealed to anyone. Amara felt the same, but fear held her back. Could someone like Zion truly love her if he knew her wealth? Would he see her differently, not as the woman he had grown to trust and care for, but as a figure of immense power and privilege? The test came sooner than expected. During a corporate event for Amara's company, Zion was invited as a guest volunteer. When he entered the grand hall, filled with chandeliers, expensive decor, and influential guests, he finally saw Amara in her element, a powerful, confident CEO commanding attention. His initial reaction was confusion. For a moment, he struggled with feelings of inadequacy. But then Amara approached him, not as a CEO, but as the woman he had laughed with, cried with, and admired for months. She held his hand, smiling softly. "You see me as I am, Zion, not as what I have," she whispered. "And that's all that matters." At that moment, Zion realized that the money he had given her for a bus ride was nothing compared to the richness of the person standing before him. He wasn't intimidated by her wealth or status, he was inspired by her strength, her humility, and her heart. From that day on, their relationship grew even stronger. They faced challenges, of course, society's skepticism, the jealousy of rivals, and personal insecurities, but they overcame each obstacle together. Zion learned that love isn't about material possessions but about trust, respect, and shared values. Amara realized that even in her lofty position, true happiness came from meaningful connections, not just achievements. Years later, when asked about how their love story began, Amara would smile and say, "It all started with a simple act of kindness, something money can't buy." Zion, holding her hand, would add, "And it taught me that sometimes, the most ordinary people can change your life in the most extraordinary ways." And so, in the rain-soaked city streets where it all began, they proved that love can be found in the most unexpected places, and that sometimes, a small act of generosity can lead to a lifetime of happiness.